Hello, I'm shooting this on my phone because it's easier than using my camera at the moment, and I just wanted to show you what the tools are that I use for making some sponge foo. I've got an OmniGrid, I've got an Olfa rotary cutter, and I've got the actual sponges, and as you can see there are all these nice holes in the sponge. I like to use those for, I like to use these because it gives a nice weathered effect. Here's the brand I like to use. I'm not even going to try and pronounce it. 6 sponges for like $2 or $3. As you can see, I've got the OmniGrid, upside down of course, chaos. And then I've got my cutting mat here. Cut them into whatever shape you want. I tend to do more rectangle based ones. And can't really show you how to cut with this right now because I need a free hand. I need one extra hand. So just hold this down and then you take your rotary cutter and whoosh, cut it along. Okay, so on these pink blocks, I decided to go a little more systematic for you, and I did blocks that are 1 inch by roughly 1 inch by a ½ inch. Now keep in mind, these blocks do not have to be perfect. After all, we're making weathered ruins. So irregular shapes are great. If you don't have a fancy Olfa cutter, a rotary cutter, these are kind of pricey. I do quilting and sometimes I make pillows and stuff. So I have these lying around. You can use scissors. You can also draw out with a ruler and a Sharpie if you want, because these are going to get colored and painted, so they're not going to stay this pink. But there you go. There's an example of more of a traditional shape I use for the building blocks for our sponge foo. I'll also put these different sizes here so you can get an idea of what you can do with what you want. It's basically do whatever you want. See? It's whatever scale you want, or like, for instance, does the castle ruins, did they have these big blocks or did they have the small blocks? In scale with the miniature, they're all going to be pretty large anyway, because a mini is about 1.5 inches tall. So there you go. You cut them up, you can cut them into whatever shapes you want. I did these more of a square shape, and this is more of like what I traditionally do for my building blocks. Look at that beautiful texture. Look at that beautiful texture on that with the sponge. That, when it's painted, looks beautiful with some dry brushing. Basically, you can paint these, cut these whatever shape you want. You can use scissors. You don't have to have an expensive quilting tool like this or the OmniGrid. You can also just cut them into rocks. They make really great rubble piles. So yeah, there you go. Go to the next step. The black acre. So then you take the sponges, dump them into the solution that I make, which is a combination of Arleen's Tacky glue, or you could use Elmer's or any kind of PVA. Whoops. Water and cheap black acrylic paint. Okay, so dump them in there. Get out any grasses that may have fallen in. And as you see, I'm wearing a plastic glove because in the past I haven't, and you get black stuff on your fingernails. Take them, squeeze out the excess liquid. What this does is it saturates the inside as well as primes the inside of the sponges. And I traditionally like to toss them on parchment paper, but I couldn't find any. So I'm going to use Reynolds wrap and see how that works. I hope it doesn't stick. So you just take and then wring them out a little bit. Wring out all that black icky. Keep in mind, this is a crucial step. At some point you have to do this, because this hardens the sponges and makes them eligible to be worked with. Oh, sorry. That was not my GI track. Okay, and we're back inside, and I went into my craft storage area and dug out a box, which had a bag of some old sponge foo pieces. These I did a couple years ago, probably about 3 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago. This is actually not sponge foo, that's styrofoam. But these are some of the sponge foo pieces, and you can see you can cut them into whatever shape you want. These have already been primed and dried. They make great pieces of rock. You can just arrange them on a piece of cardboard or whatever. Hot glue works. I tend to use, when I first started I used hot glue, but it burned so much. So now I tend to go with the Arleen's Tacky glue, because it's going to get primed again anyway. So look, I just made a little setup. Ba-bam! Also, here's another thing. A friend of mine made this little arch. Apparently we never used it. We made a lot of Frostgrave terrain. But you can see it's a weathered arch. And once again, it doesn't have to be perfect. We were going for ruins that had been frozen for 1,000 years and then thawed out. So I figured the rock would expand and contract and have all sorts of texture to it. Just for compare and contrast, here is a one of those pre-cut styrofoam blocks, which also has a nice texture, but I find that they're very uniform and it just has a different look. To me, it seems less organic. I know that's kind of weird. Here's another sponge fruit that we cut. So there you go. You can see what they look like once you have the pieces together. And I'll be right back. I'm going to go dig around the basement and come back with some terrain. Okay, here's a piece of sponge food terrain I made probably about 2 or 3 years ago. It's just a modular, it's actually technically a piece of scatter terrain, I guess. Or it could be used for a wall. I love modular terrain, and as you can see, there's nothing really on the bottom. You could use whatever you want. I used, I think this is old cereal box or something. Glue it together with whatever kind of glue you prefer. This piece right here, I believe, was hot glue, but it may have been after I had perfected this method, and I think I might have used Arleen's with it. But no, that might be hot. I think that's hot glue poking out right there. So there you go. Here's another piece I made, modular. Once again, oh no, it's Sara Lee cupcakes on the bottom. So you use whatever kind of stuff you want. This is super affordable and super cheap. You won't be in the hardware store cutting up your XPS insulation foam. You could also make rubber piles. You can see there's a lot of common objects in here. Clothespins kind of gives it away. But this is just junk that I would have thrown away from, I think these are plastic bits. But if you sneak in some sponge foo, like right there, it makes really cool rubble. Now this is an older method before I primed it. You can see it's squishy, it's not hard. So this is one of my earlier methods of making stuff. And then if you want to go big or go home, this is a piece of terrain I made using craft sticks, which are here, which I would redo these if I were going to redo this piece. Sponge foo, as you can see, and it's nice and hard. It's the same kind of sponge as this, okay? And then you can make stairs, which I made here. I made some stairs going up. These actually fit miniatures. This is designed for Frostgrave, so I wanted the miniatures in case, you know, the end of their movement to be somewhere in the middle, that it would be doable. As you can see, it's perfectly playable. I can put my hand in any section of this. This is empty, which is nice because it allows the battle mat to show through. Here you can see some arches that were made with sponge foo. It all works, and it's the limit of your imagination. Now kids, here's the kicker. The base is made out of a cardboard box. So this terrain piece was dirt cheap. Actually, it's a couple of cardboard boxes. So there you go. Sponge foo. Hello guys, I went and scrounged around in the basement some more and dug around and found some stuff. This is one of the earlier sponge foo pieces I did, which is based on DM Scotty tutorial. This is a different brand of sponge, and as you can see, it's not as textured. It is on the sides though. Here you can use it for your campfire rocks. This is that little tea light tutorial. The top really should be finished a little more with painting, but you can get an idea of like how cool the rocks look. I think those look really good. The organicness, you just can't get those organic shapes with the styrofoam. It can also be used for a statue stand. This is just some sponge, and I believe it's the sponge foo brand that I like to use. Just cut a little more uniform, but it still gives a great weathered effect. And this is just a plastic kids toy, like those farm animal kits or something. It's a lion. Makes a great, you know, oh, there's a statue or whatever. Also here, once again, this is for Frostgrave. These are out of scale, but whatever, I used them anyway. And there's the sponge foo. You can get a better idea of what it looks like. This is once again a different when I was experimenting, and it's not treated, so you can see how squishy that is. This is treated, which is really hard. Also, let's say you want to have your rogue or whoever. Oh, the elf finds a secret door. Bam! Instant hole in the wall. You don't have to do black here. You could go and you could like maybe print out something from online like a hallway or whatever and glue that in there or paint something. I just went generic and black. I didn't even shade it. It's just real kind of flat, but whatever. The rock, I mean, look at that. Look at that beautiful organicness of the sponge foo. And that's just a wood craft stick as a base. I wanted something hard. A round piece of wood painted black and some sponge foo. And you can see I sliced the sponge foo. Some of it's thick at the base and then it gets thinner as it goes up top on the side. Maybe I'll do a tutorial on these because these are really cool. Just slap that on there like, we're looking for a secret door. Someone rolled a 20. Okay, there you go. More ideas with sponge foo. Dun, 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 dun.